All right, technology. Let's begin. Let's start our class tonight. Tonight we're having a class on Chanuka's message to our current events and how to take the light of Chanuka into our life right now. I've taught Chanuka for many, many years, and this is my first time teaching it from this angle. I feel like 2020, there's a first for a lot of things, for a lot of people. I'm going to start off by telling you a story that happened yesterday. I went to daven. By Kever Shmuel Navi, which is near my house. And I walk in, and it's packed with women. COVID restrictions are something like 10 or 15 women in there at once. So it was pretty packed. I walk in, I go over to my area where I like to sit there, all the way inside where, like deep into the area there, away from the entrance. And I'm davening. And so is everyone else around me, davening and quiet. And there's just a bunch of women whispering and crying. And it's like that feeling of like being, at a kever, of a tzaddik, a navi. And all of a sudden, I hear snapping. And I hear someone saying, Slicha, excuse me, like that. And I was like, okay, so I'm davening, right? And I hear this woman snapping and saying, Slicha, but she's like all the way on the other side of the room. And I'm thinking, there's no way she's talking to me. Like, there's just, I don't know, she's probably talking to someone, so I continue davening, and it gets louder, and she's getting louder. So I pick up my head, and I look at her, and she goes, pick up your mask. I have a very hard time wearing a mask, especially when I'm davening, okay? It's like impossible for me to wear a mask when I'm davening. And I had my own space, and I had my scarf on, and it wasn't like, I was in someone's face or anything like that. So I said, okay, and I started like picking up my mask, and I happen to not be a very big fan of the masks, and for many different reasons that I'm not going to go into right now. I know it's a highly controversial topic, especially here in Israel. I feel like around the world, especially in the United States, people are a little bit more in the know in terms of wearing the mask, and if it's how effective is it really? They tell us it's very, very effective, but then you have 1,000 doctors that got together and said that it actually is not just not effective, but it's kind of counterproductive to keeping you healthy. And breathing out CO2 and then breathing it back in, and the bacteria that you breathe out, breathing it back in. It is one of the main ways to get strep, to make yourself sick. So to keep breathing in the same recycled air that you breathe out, we have different ways of detoxing. Our skin, when we sweat, that's one way of detoxing, the way that our body lets out chemicals from our body, toxicity. So we sweat it out from our cells. We sweat it from our glands, from our pores, from all over. We sneeze. We breathe out. Right? So those are other ways that our body detoxifies itself when we go to the bathroom. Right? That's why the Rambam says if you have to go to the bathroom, you're not supposed to hold it in, not even for a minute. Don't even hold it in for a minute, because it's pure poison that needs to come out of your body. It's chemicals, it's toxicity that needs to be flushed out of your body, and it needs to come out right away. And don't hold it in. You're not even supposed to make a bracha when you have it, because it's impure and needs to come out. So our body has many ways of flushing out toxicity, okay? Flushing out toxins. And one of the ways is through breathing out CO2. So when I don't need to, I don't wear the mask. They're very, very makpid on wearing the mask here in Israel. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you have to wear it. And in my opinion, it's very, very extreme. And I don't like it. And So obviously I wear it out of respect for people that are very scared and people that are, believe that that's what's going to help them, stay alive or whatever it is. And so as I was putting on the mask, I looked at her from across the room, and I was a little bit surprised, that a religious Jewish woman would, over a crowd of davening women, start snapping in another woman's face and say over the crowds, put on your mask, right? So I put on the mask and I looked at her like, really? Like that? And she had a fit. She went nuts on me. She basically started telling me, she started screaming at me, you have to abide by the law, and how dare you? And then she said, where is your v'ahavta l'recha kamocha? Where is your love of another Jew? Where is your v'ahavta l'recha kamocha? And I froze. I stood there frozen, thinking to myself, how ironic is that she's choosing to speak about v'ahavta l'recha kamocha when she's completely embarrassing me in front of a room full of women that are davening by Shmuel Navi's kever, like on top of it, crying on top of his kever. She's screaming across the room, telling me that I have to be ashamed of myself, and that I don't have v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, and that I don't love my fellow Jew. And I shouldn't have said anything. I really shouldn't have said anything. But I said to her, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha goes two ways. I said to her, it goes two ways. And what I meant by that is that there is this experience that right now that we're in, this reality right now that we've walked into sometime in February, okay? And over the last 8-9 months, it's kind of driven a wedge between people that think one way and people that think another way. Okay? Now, the hot topic nowadays is Corona. That's the hot topic. That's where you go. Wherever you go, people are discussing it. Whatever Shabbos table you go to, wherever you are, people are talking about it. That is the topic on the table. That's what everyone's talking about, and vaccinations and all of that. Right? So clearly, we're all experiencing the same thing, and we are all very different from each other. Right? So every person's going to experience it in a different way. Everyone is going to say, this is for me, and this is not for me. This works for me, and this really doesn't work for me. Like, I can do this, and I could do this. Everyone. Some people, really, really abide by every single thing that they're told to do, and they abide by it, including, calling the police on their neighbors, and snitching on fellow brothers and sisters for whatever the reason is. They really, really are holding by the letter of the law. And they feel like the law is on their side and that they're doing the right thing, and that's fine for them, right? And then there are people that are not holding on where they are. They don't see themselves wearing a mask 24/7. They don't see themselves getting vaccinated in the near future. They don't see themselves, they're not there yet. They're not there yet, and maybe they'll never be there, right? Maybe they just totally disagree with what's going on. It's not, where each person has free choice, right? And now, the thing that happened to me after this exchange with her by this kever, after she yelled at me and snapped at me and harassed me, almost like accusing me of not loving the people around me, I got angry. In my heart, I got angry with her, and I was davening, and I was thinking to myself, like, the chutzpah of this woman. Oh my God! I felt like the steam coming out of my face. I felt like the anger coming out of my face. And then as I kept davening and I kept thinking about it, I said, "Wow! Oh my gosh! Everything about the Jewish people." And if you listen to any of my classes, I basically talk about this in every single one of my classes. Is that when we're together, we're successful. When we're together, we're powerful. When we have unity, nothing can hurt us. Even when we're united to worship idols, even when we're united to worship another god, we're still successful. Okay? We are much more successful when we are together in unity when we're separated and isolated and not talking to each other, and one thinks that they're better than the other, right? So up until Corona, there was like, You're Ashkenazi, you're Sephardi, you're religious, you're not religious, you're modern Orthodox, you're Haredi, right? There's all these categories that allows one person to think that they're better than the other person, or one person to think that the other person's not for them, and that they can't talk to them, and they can't relate to them, and they can't have them at their table, and then they can whatever it is, and they can't interact with them. They can't tolerate differences, right? And that is what Chazal tell us is the reason why we are suffering in this exile for 2,000 years, because of the lack of unity amongst us, that we can't look at the other person's differences and say, okay, this is not the way I live my life, but I still love this person, I still care about this person, I still love my parents don't keep Shabbos. It says in the Torah, a person that doesn't keep Shabbos, mot yumat. Mot yumat. Does it mean that I can't love them because Hashem, and who I believe in and I live my life according to, said that now I have to look at this person and say, you know what? Forget about Corona laws. Forget about, what the government is saying. God is saying you have to keep Shabbos. Otherwise you will die. Not like maybe you'll die, maybe you'll get sick, maybe you'll whatever. You will die. A person that doesn't keep Shabbos, their neshama dies in this world and in the next world. They get kares, they cut off from the neck from the Jewish people. That's what happens to them spiritually. But that's their choice. I can try to talk to them, I can try to influence them, I can try to inspire them, I can try to hug and love and kiss them to open their heart to see it. But bottom line, what they do in their private life, that is their business. I can't do it for them. My business is to love them regardless. My business is to respect them regardless. Respect and love people regardless of whether they're living their life and obeying the laws and obeying the rules like you are. That's it. Because that is where our strength comes as the Jewish people. Our only strength lies in our unity. And there are so many differences already between us. There are so many differences already in place with all the stuff that we are and all the categories and all the different people and all the different types and all the different thought, belief systems and all of that doesn't really matter. Every person in their own personal life needs to do what they believe is true, who they believe, who they follow, and what is the common denominator for all of us is love and respect for all. Nekuda. And the thing that I was thinking when she put me in that position, when she put me in that spot of like making me feel like, like a 2 cents, she tried to make me feel like 2 cents. She put me in a place where all of a sudden I started hating her in my heart. Started hating her in my heart. Not real hate, but anger. Like, how dare you? How dare you? And I was thinking all of these things, screaming above all these ladies that are praying. And I wasn't the only one that wasn't wearing a mask. Nobody was wearing a mask, actually. Nobody in there had a mask on. People are praying and davening. Everybody had their own space. Everybody was, and she looked at me and she called me out in front of everyone and embarrassed me, and everybody was looking at me. Oh my gosh, what was going on in my mind afterwards? And then I thought to myself, this is exactly what the Yetzer Hara wants to do to us. This is exactly what he wants to do to us. You think you're right because you believe in masks. I think I'm right because I don't believe in masks. Therefore, now we have what to hate each other over. And when we hate each other, and when we disagree with each other, and when we fight with each other, and when we think the other person's an idiot for not thinking about life and seeing the situation like I see the situation, what bottom line happens is that more likely than someone catching a virus, more likely is that we put a wedge in between us, and that weakens us. That weakens all of the energy of our nation. We know that every nation has its own malach. Every nation has its own malach, right? The Jewish nation has a malach. The Jewish nation has Hashem as its malach. We don't have a malach. We have Hashem as our malach. Right? And when we are separated, we get weakened. Our power is weakened. Our success is weakened. Our unity takes everything, either makes us or breaks us. Our unity makes us or breaks us. And that's why it says, that, I think I said this in our last class, that we have the 4 galios, tov, avo, v'choshech al pnei tehom, right? Those are the 4 galios. When Hashem created the world, it says that the world was tov, avo, it was empty, and it was tov, avo, it was almost like there was a disorder and a disunity. V'choshech, and darkness al pnei tehom, and almost like the tehom is like a bottomless pit. And that's how the world is described before God put things into order and created day 1, created day 2, day 3, day 4, and put everything in, structured the world in the structure that we have it today. We have summer, spring, fall, winter. We have things in structure when things are in season, when things grow, how the weather works, how the animals respond to the weather. All of that. That's the structure that God put into the world after He created it. But in the beginning, before there was all that structure, it was tohu vavohu v'choshech ha'pnei tehom. It's complete chaos. It's complete disunity. And then God put it into order and put structure in place. The words tohu vavohu is talking about tohu is galus Mitzrayim, vavohu is galus Paras when in Purim time, right? Persia. The choshech is talking about Yavan. Choshech is talking about Yavan. Now the concept of choshech is like this. Now let's go deeply for a second into the concept of choshech. The concept of choshech is darkness. Darkness in spiritual terms is talking about an inability to have clarity, an inability to know to differentiate between what's good and what's bad, what's real and what's fake, what's emes and what's sheker. Choshech is the inability to see clearly. It's almost like when you're driving and it's dark outside and you don't see clearly. You're tired and you're driving and you don't see clearly. If it were daytime and you were driving the same road, you would see a lot more clear. You would have much more of a far distance. You would be able to see clearly. You would see what's going on. But because it's dark, then you have to focus in a lot more, and that's how you get these wrinkles. Just saying. But you have to focus a lot more, and then you're able to see the road, and then you're able to see where you're going. Right? You have to really focus on where you're going. That's like a concept of choshech. Choshech is that it's metashtesh. It makes it very hard to see what's in front of you. Right? And in spiritual terms, there's a concept of choshech and the concept of oh. Now follow me here. This is really amazing. If you get this, you'll get a lot out of your Chanuka, Be'ezrat Hashem. Concept of choshech is they wanted to lashkicham toratecha. The Yevanim wanted to lashkiach et Torah. They wanted to make you forget what what makes you different as a Jew. They wanted to make you forget that. Forget it. They didn't want to hurt us. It wasn't Haman that wanted to do men, women, and children and one day just get rid of the Jewish people. They had no problem with us walking the planet. They had no problem with us being there. The problem that they had is our itaskut, our being busy with things that are in the realm of light, in the realm of clarity, in the realm of this is what I do and this is what I don't do. This is right and this is wrong. This is emes and this is sheker. They didn't like that. That's why when the Nachash comes to Chava, what does he do to Chava? He tells her there's this Eitzadas, Tovera, this Eitzadas, this tree of knowledge, good and bad, and he tells her, eat from it, eat from it, eat from it, eat from it. And when she does, what happens? What happens to her clarity? What happens to her vision? It becomes Irbuvia. It was black and white beforehand. Everything was very clear. What you do, what you don't do, what's good for you, what's bad for you, what sabotages your growth, what helps you grow. It was very clear. And once she eats from it, when she partakes from it, what happens to her? It becomes all irbuvia. The black and the white turns to gray. It's not clear what's good, what's bad. Nothing is clear. Things are not clear. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about my own strength. I'm not sure about my purpose in life. I'm not sure whether I'm a good person or I'm not a good person. I'm not sure whether I have worth, I don't have worth. I'm not sure whether my decisions are correct. I don't trust myself. All of that irbuvia, all of that not seeing clearly, not being in touch with myself. Today I had a thought. My thought was, wow, I'm going to go up to heaven after 120, and all of a sudden they're going to show me like me, like the neshama me, and I'm going to be like, I could have done so much more. Because it's not about me, it's about the soul that you were given, it's about the energy that was put inside of us. So the energy that was put inside of the life force that was put inside of you, we have all these thoughts that are in irbuvia, that are black and white, that are mixed in together, that are gray, and then they get in the way of who we really are and what we can really accomplish and what we came into this world to do. They get in the way. Me, I can't, I don't know how to, everything I touch, just goes to hell. I don't know how to put things. I don't know. My life, I just sit here and mind my own business. I don't have much to contribute. I don't know much. I don't. Our thoughts our lack of thinking clearly and straight and seeing clearly what's in front of us and having all in our life, that's what sabotages our ability to really, really, really grow and evolve and live a big life and touch many souls and make a big impact on this world. That's what paralyzes us. Our irbuvia, this inability to see clearly what's right and what's wrong. And that is the koach of the Yetzer Hara. What is the koach of the Yetzer Hara? To confuse you. I want to give you another story. I want to tell you this other story. I don't know if I said this here. I might have said this, but this one is like one of the biggest ones. Okay, now before I tell you this story that happened to me, I'm going to read this to you here. This is about the times of Chanuka, and listen to this. Listen to this. It's talking about the Yevanim when they were coming to, when they came to Yerushalayim. So it says at first that they were trying to do it in a friendly way. They tried to get the Jewish people away from their light, from their book of knowledge, from their ability to differentiate between good and bad. Because what happens when God tells you, do bris milah, God tells you to circumcise your child, there's a whole spiritual reasoning behind that. Oh my gosh, what it does to the soul, what it allows for it to happen, what the chakras that it opens up in the soul, the energy highways that it allows this child to eventually evolve and develop and become. It's unbelievable. It's an erla. It literally is. When a person does bris milah, it brings him into the bris Abraham. He becomes a Jew, right? So that was the first thing that they didn't want us to do. They didn't want us to become Jewish. They didn't want us to move into this realm of spiritual involvement and focus on spirituality at all. Keep it superficial. Keep it on the outside. Keep it on the surface, right? And then when they do this, right, and it doesn't work in the beginning, and they try to do it in a friendly way, and they gave us positions in the government, and they gave us positions in all these lofty places, and they saw that Misyavnim were not powerful enough. They were not powerful enough in succeeding to really be mashpia, to have an effect on the rest of the nation. The rest of the nation weren't convinced like the Misyavnim were. There were a nice size amount of people that were Misyavim, that chose to move away from being Jewish and move into the more Greek lifestyle, and especially since they were getting all these benefits from being from walking and from listening to what they were telling them to do. So after a while, the Yevanim saw that it wasn't making a difference, meaning that it wasn't working. They're being nice to us and talking to us in a nice way and giving us positions and getting Misyavim. It wasn't working because the Misyavim were not so successful in convincing the rest of the nation. The rest of the nation didn't really pay any attention to them. Right? They got into conversations with them and all of that, but they didn't pay any attention to them really. They didn't hold of them. And then that's when the Yevanim came in with armies and with a kavana to destroy and to loot and to kill and to rape, and that's what they did. Right? That's what they did. So listen to this. He says here in Sefer Devorah Eliyahu Kitov, he writes here like this. And when they came, רצחו, טבחו, שדדו ויעשו שמות בעם וינום בכל מיני עינויים ויהרגו מהם רבבות אנשים. They came in, they raped, they looted, they tortured them in all these different ways of torturing them. Thousands of people were killed, nashim, oralim, vetaf, women, children, and babies, shemasru et nafsham, they gave up their lives, al shmirat Torah, for keeping of the Torah, v'chol chukea u'mitzvotea, and all its laws and its mitzvos. Miktzat min ha'am, a little bit of the nation, nichneu lifneim, ishtachavu le'elehem, a few of the people, a few of the Jews succumbed. They bowed down to their avodah zarah, and they became a part of them. Miktzat min ha'am, and a few of some of the nation, talking about the Jewish people, bachul midbarot, ran to the deserts, or itchabu b'me'arot, and hid in different me'arot. My English is going down the tubes. Or me'arot and caves. Okay, so they ran away to the deserts and they hid in caves. וגם יד אחיהם המתייוונים הייתה במעל להסגיר את המתייוונים ביד רודפיהם. And what does it say here? And listen to this. וגם יד אחיהם, and the hand of their brother המתייוונים, the מתייוונים, הייתה במעל להסגיר את המתחבאים ביד רודפיהם. The ones that went in hiding, these מתייוונים, their job was to tattletale on them and to tell the Yevanim where they're hiding. ולהתעולל בנשארים ולהביאם, and to torture the ones that remained alive, that were able to stay alive through this time, ולהביאם למקומות התעוללים, and to bring these Jews that were hiding and that didn't want to be a part of this and that didn't want to give up and didn't want to let go of Torah Yisrael, right? They schlepped them, they brought them to their place of Avodah Zarah, be'al korcham, without their agreement, without their consent, ve'leftotam l'chod dvar avera, and they lured them into doing every kind of avera. וגם את בנות ישראל הסגירו לעריצי האויב לטומאה. And also the בנות Israel, the Jewish women, they framed and they brought them into the oyev, into the enemy for tumah purposes. And then it says what they did, that they came into the Beis Hamikdash and that they destroyed it in 13 different ways, and they brought a chazer, they brought a pig on the azara where they would usually bring the karbanos. They brought a pig and they shechted, and all the people all the Jews that were there, they were watching, they all were completely shocked and just broken from seeing this. And the next part is really, really intense and crazy, but before I get to it, I want to stop right here and tell you something incredible. We are living in times where every other commercial on Israeli TV, I don't know what it's like out there in the diaspora, but every other commercial on TV is telling us in a very fun and friendly way, protect yourselves, and remember that if your neighbor or if your friend or if anyone in your family is not abiding by the corona laws, make sure to call this number. Make sure to call this number. Make sure to call this number. My son comes home from yeshiva the other day, and he tells me, Ima, I tell you that the Rebbe, who is very, 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 very makbid on corona laws, extremely, extremely down to the letter of the law, even more machmir than they are here, which is a huge level. He came home and he said that the Rebbe told the class that he's going to pick a child, and he picked one of the students, one of the boys. He picked him and he said, you are going to be the corona monitor. You are going to, when I am not around, you are going to take a pen and a paper and you are going to write down the names of the boys that are outside playing soccer and that go to the bathroom or walking the halls, and if their mask is a little bit under their nose, okay, you are going to make sure to write their name down and hand it in to me at the end of the day. You hear that? So my son comes and tells me, not on the Rebbe, he wasn't telling me on the Rebbe, he was telling me, I feel so bad for my friend. He was put in such a bad position because now he's the tattletale on the entire class. He has a tattletale. He walks around. He's their age. He's in 4th grade. He walks around with a pen and paper, writing down who is not wearing their mask outside in the bathroom. I couldn't believe it. I called the Rebbe up that night, and I was trying to be so speak to him with respect and with kavod, but I was beside myself. And this is what we're learning here. This is exactly what we're learning here. Listen to this crazy correlation. Listen to what we're learning here. We are learning here. I told him very, very clearly. I said 3 times a day, Rebbe, you daven v'lamalshinim al teheh tikva. To the tattletales, they shouldn't have tikva. They shouldn't be matzliach. 3 times a day you daven v'lamalshinim in Shemona Esrei. 3 times a day you say the Malshinim, the tattletales, they shouldn't be successful. Because we as Jews, we know we don't tattletale. We don't tattletale on our brother. That's why we are in Golos in the first place. That's why we have Corona in the first place. That's why we have people dying. That's why we have all the chaos and confusion and sadness that we have in the world, because of our lack of unity. This is what you're instilling in the kids in your class? This is what you're teaching? You're appointing a child, you are appointing a little boy to go tell on his friends? Is that the message that you want to give over? What? Eitadas tovera. Irbuvia. When we're not connected to Torah, when we get confused, when it gets too dark, when Choshech takes over, when Yavan takes over, when we forget what's right and what's wrong, we can literally be saying it in the siddur every single second, and while we're saying the words, we can be doing the Aveira. While we're saying the words, we can be doing the Aveira. How could you do that? Rabbi. And he says to me, he argued at first, and he was very upset about the fact that I spoke to him that way, and then he said, "You're right. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to make sure to not do that anymore." There's a line we draw as Torah Jews, as people that live our lives according to Torah, according to halacha. There's a line we draw. When someone tells you not to be, when your parents tell, the Torah tells you, when your parents tell you not to be Shomer Shabbos, you have to be Mechal Kibud Aveim. You're not allowed to listen to your parents. Shabbos is Doche Kibud Aveim. In that way. In every way. You cannot listen to the laws of the land that are telling you to go against the laws of God. What? When we are going against the laws of Hashem in an effort to stay alive, that is us being kofir. Kofir be'ikar. Kofir, we're kofrim. When I went to that family in Givat Ze'ev that were beat up in their homes because their neighbor called the cops on them. This poor family, they literally had like 20 people at this wedding. They wanted to marry off their daughter. They couldn't marry off their daughter for months. They're religious people. They don't have a choice in the matter. These 2 children need to get married. These 2 little kids, the 2 20-year-olds, they need to get married. They were engaged forever. They need to get married. So they had a little wedding with a little dinner in their house. The neighbor followed the news. The news said, the religious neighbor said the news said, if you see something, say something. Do you know what happened to that family? Do you know what the mother told me? She said to me, it took me a week. It took me a week to clean my son's blood off my kitchen walls. Do you know what they did to her family? Do you know what they did to that family? They walked in there. There were 13 cop cars. The army came. Soldiers came. Soldiers that go into Gaza. Soldiers that go deal with terrorists, that bust into terrorists' homes and rip them into pieces. They're the ones that came into this poor family's house. They almost killed her son. They almost killed him. I was there. I saw what they did. I saw pictures, I saw the videos, I spoke to the parents. There was blood on the countertop still that she couldn't get out, and the crevices. Because there's a person that's listening to the laws. They're listening to the laws, the Corona laws. Listen to me. If we are not united, we have no chance. You have no chance. We have no chance. If we are not united, in our unity, when we did Avodah Zarah together, all of us, come, let's all do Avodah Zarah together. Hashem likes that more than all of this tattletaling on each other. And all of this, oh, I'm wearing a mask, I'm better than you. Oh, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm better than you. Mazeh. We cannot be lured into this as Jews, as learned people, as people that have kept Torah for 2,000 years in the darkest exile that has ever been. We can't lose track of what kept us alive till now. We are a miraculous people. We are people that what determines our existence is our ability to stay connected and to stay united. That is it. That is it. Our ability to go through, read the article by Mark Twain. Read the article by Mark Twain. What does he say there? Does it make any sense that they're still around? This nation, they're just immortal. They don't die. Thank God. All the nations have risen up against them. Everyone has tried to take them down. So much anti-Semitism, all the generations, and yet they're still around. What is the secret to their immortality? He says. What is the secret to their immortality? And Hashem says in the Torah, Lo litbalbel, don't get confused. Let's not get confused. Let's not get confused. What kept us around and what keeps us around and what allows us to stay on the scene of humanity and to be this light onto the nations is our ability to stick to the letter of the law. To the letter of the law. V'lo litbalbel. In every generation, there's going to be something that's going to come try to confuse us. And now, because I wear a mask, because you don't wear a mask, because I'm going to vaccinate, I'm not going to vaccinate, because you're not going to vaccinate, you're going to vaccinate, all the differences, there's going to be differences. There are going to be differences. Some people will, some people won't. Some people will vaccinate, some people won't vaccinate. Some people are into this, some people think it's a conspiracy. This is the reality. This is the reality. We have to accept the fact that this is the reality. And the only thing that is our business in all of this is not to convince the other person of the way we see things. No. It's not to convince anyone. Everybody knows the statistics. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's heard the news. Everybody knows what's up. Everyone's going to choose, just like they do with following the Torah or not following the Torah. Everyone's going to choose what they choose. The bottom line is, my only business in all of this is to accept and to love you because you're a Jew. And because you're a human. Zehu. That's it. Because me trying to prove to you something, and then in the end hating you because of it, and fighting with you because of it, and arguing with you because of it, or over a Shabbos table, in shul, on wherever it is, with your friends, with your family, that is way worse than Corona. Way worse than getting sick. Way worse. You are much more at risk emotionally, spiritually, internally, in terms nationally, at falling apart, at getting sick mentally or spiritually than you are from getting the virus. Much more. We have to make sure we prioritize. We have to make sure we prioritize. Make sure you prioritize and remember to put all the differences aside. Everyone's going to see it how they see it. Don't hate them because they see it differently than you. Mazeh. I have friends that are going to vaccinate and then they are avid believers in all of the things that I don't believe in. I still love them. I still love them. I can't force them to see life as I see life. I can't. I don't want to. I have no interest in doing that. I want to be busy with trying to coerce the people to listen to God's Torah. That I am passionate about. And so that's something that's really, really important in today's current events because we are not, this thing is not going away anytime soon. Okay? Not going away anytime soon. I'm not talking about the virus. The whole thing, from beginning to end. It's not going away anytime soon. What we have to remember is that in all of this, lo litbalbel, don't get confused, because that is the shorish of Yavan. The shorish of Yavan is lashkicham toratecha, to lashkicham choshech, is to confuse them, what's right and what's wrong. We can get confused, and that is the tool of the Yetzer Hara. The tool of the Yetzer Hara is to confuse us as to what's right and to what's wrong. All of a sudden, I'm exchanging my belief system, what I knew to be right my whole life, with a whole new set of laws. And now, because I was told this thing, and I've been brainwashed to think this way for the past 6 months, now all the other things that I believe in cannot fly out the window. What we know to be true has to come above and beyond what the current events of today. That's what's kept us alive all throughout the ages. I want to read to you the next part here. Listen to this part, and then I'm going to end with something that's really, really, really amazing for Chanuka, so bear with me. Okay, I don't know. You have to be strong for this piece. Okay, listen to this piece. You have to be strong, especially women. Hanes harishon shel mered im Hashem be'oivav, the first miracle that happened from when the Jews started retaliating. They started retaliating because remember, up until then, the Greeks were the ones that were in charge of Israel, in charge of the majority of the world. They were the superpower of the world. They were the superpower of the world. Okay, Yavan. And so this is the first time, what we're reading right now, this is the first time that the Jews are retaliating. Okay, listen to this. Nitan al yidei bnot Israel. Who was the first one to retaliate? The Jewish women. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. The Jewish women are amazing. I'm sorry. Jewish women, the more I learn about Jewish women, the more I meet Jewish women, powerful Jewish women, I'm like, wow. That's why it says that because of the Jewish women, we're going to come out of this exile. That's why. Respect your wives. Nitan al yidei benot Israel, right? The Jewish women did this. Nashei hanitzchavim v'amistatrim, the women of the husbands that were hiding, that they were the ones that were hiding. Remember, I told you before that they were hiding in me'arot, in caves, right? And they were hiding in the deserts. Remember? So the women of these men, ben ki yolad le'echad mehem, when one of them would have a son, after she gave him a bris milah. Remember, they were not allowed to give bris milah. So it's almost like today. I'll give you an example. This is a little bit of a far-fetched example, but this is where it's going. Okay, this is where it's going. I told you this has to do with current events. So if you have an issue with this conversation or this talk, you're more than welcome to leave this talk. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stay quiet about something that is absurd, obscene, ridiculous, and not okay. I'm not for the sake of being liked by everyone, going to say things that I highly disagree with and that don't make any sense to the mind in any way, shape, or form. There has to be something else going on because this doesn't make any sense. And my Rabbanim are saying it as well here in Eretz Yisrael. My friend goes to the mall with her very pregnant friend. They're in the mall, this is 3 days ago, and they bought a salad. Now the mall is recently opened, okay? The whole mall is cut up in capsules. There's just like curtains everywhere and, it looks very different. It looks like a different place. And she shows me pictures. And they bought a salad, and there's nowhere to sit because you're not allowed to sit anywhere. All the restaurants are closed. You can't sit. Everything is takeaway. You can't, sit anywhere. So they bought a salad and they sat on the staircase. There was a staircase on the side, like by the parking. They sat over there like an empty staircase. They sat in there and they ate. One of them again is 8 months pregnant, and all of a sudden a police officer comes up to them with a megaphone, one of those, the camp ones, big megaphones, and he starts screaming in front of them, you cannot sit here, keep walking, you can't sit here, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And her friend, who's the pregnant woman, said to him, excuse me, I'm pregnant, and I need to eat right now before I pass out, so can you stop? First of all, you have to stop screaming in my face with this thing. Talk to me, okay? And I'm not moving. I need to finish my salad. I don't feel well. So he says to her, I don't care about your pregnancy and I don't care about your salad. Keep walking. You cannot sit here. So they both get up, and in their place, as they're standing in their place, the pregnant girl says to the cop, can I stand here and eat the salad? And he says, yeah, you could stand as long as you don't sit. Hold on, I have to breathe. What? What? She's standing in the same place that she sat a second before. Same place. She could stand, she can't sit. So when there's something that is so ridiculous, so what is this? Why are you punishing me? There's no one else around. We're just sitting here and eating something. What is, it doesn't make any sense. Right now, they came out 2 days ago here in Israel. Listen to this one. This is a great one. They're taking a poll. When do you want your next lockdown? Do you want your next lockdown end of November, end of December, January time? Or would you rather Purim Pesach time? So everyone's like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe we should take it January and December, January time because anyway it's cold. Or maybe we should take it December, March, April time. What? What do you mean? If there's a pandemic, then it comes, and when it comes, that's when we run into our homes. How do we get to fit it into our schedule? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? And when there's no sticker, all the restaurants are open and everything is opened, and only if you're sitting, then you don't have to wear a mask, and only if you're jogging, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you're walking, you do have to wear. But if you're walking a little fast, then you do have to wear a mask. But if you run a little bit, then you don't have to wear a mask. Then all of these, it's just doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Doesn't add up, right? And so therefore, we have to be very, very, very respectful of people's opinions and how people are gauging this and what people are going through, just like we're very respectful of the people that are keeping themselves locked in for 9 months and 10 months, okay, because they're scared and they're fearful, just like we're respectful of them. We have to be respectful of the people that this doesn't make any sense to them and they're having a very hard time with this. So you think they're risking your life, they think you're risking their life. That doesn't matter. The facts don't matter. What matters is unity. What matters is that there's going to be many chulukei deos on this Indian. There's going to be many people that are going to be thinking many different things about this thing. Get used to it. This is not going away anytime soon. Respect each other, because that is the name of the game. That is what is going to get us strong. That is what is going to get us past this. That we all know that this is Mashiach, right? We all know that this is we're getting closer to the end with this whole thing. We all know that it's going to get darker before it gets lighter. That's how it works. That's what the Tanaim said, right? The Tanaim said that we will. Thank God we're not going to be the generation before Mashiach. Thank God we're not going to be, because it's going to be dark. It's going to be scary. It's going to be dark. It's going to be scary. The thing that's going to keep us together, the thing that's going to keep us alive, the thing that's going to keep us well, the thing that's going to keep us healthy is our unity. So you think that she's doing the wrong thing? Shut your mouth. I shouldn't have answered that lady at the kiver. I shouldn't have said that opposite straw goes two ways. I shouldn't have said that. And now I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. Because I will respect her, and I will make it my business to respect every single person that thinks differently than me, and every single person that I think is absurd, just like I respect my parents who don't keep Shabbos. And just like I respect my gay friend, even though I completely disagree with what they're doing, and I don't, it's not me, it's God that says it in the Torah. How do I know what's real and what's not real? How are you supposed to know what's right or not right? How do we know? We don't know. We can't know. The only thing we know is what Hashem tells us is in right and wrong. Zeu. I know that it's right to keep Shabbos because it says in the Torah, anyone that doesn't mot yumat, anyone that doesn't is kares from the Jewish people. So that's why I keep Shabbos, because this is what this book is to me is from heaven. I have no arguments. Thank God. It's been proven to me so many times over. I've seen it so much. Just the fact that Klal Yisrael is still walking the planet, and we're still making headlines, and we're still the Jews in Israel, and we're still, and that in and of itself is a miracle, a complete miracle. That we haven't been wiped out by all the billions of Arabs around us is a complete miracle. Doesn't make any sense. All they have to do is get up and walk. All they have to do is get up from where they're sitting in their Arab nations and just stand up and walk. They walk towards Israel. We are all in the sea. That's all they have to do. They don't have to shoot us. They don't have to stab us. They don't have to blow us up. All they have to do is that. And we're done. Because they are billions, and we are, how many, 6 million, 7 million in this land? It doesn't make sense. We don't make sense, because we are above nature. We are above Teva. The Jewish people have always been above Teva. And what keeps us above Teva, and what keeps us miraculous, and what keeps us safe, and what keeps us alive, and what keeps our torch burning is the fact that we are united no matter what differences are amongst us. Zeu! Kibbutz Golios. That's the idea. What's the idea? Kibbutz Golios. They're going to be Jews from all over the world. Ethiopians and Germans and all Chinese and blacks and Americans and Israelis and everyone together greeting Mashiach. That's what makes us so unique. Our differences and our ability to love the differences in each other. Don't forget that. We can't forget that. You're not better than me because you're wearing a sheitel, and I'm not better than you because I keep Shabbat. That's it. We're not better. Each one has their own religion and their own connection with God, and whatever they do, and however they believe. What my business is to love you, and what your business is to love me. That's all our business is. That's all we have to worry about. That's all that matters. That's it. and not to gossip about the other person, and not to snitch on the other person, not to snitch on the other person. We are not allowed to snitch on the other person. We are not allowed to. It's us, sir, to snitch on another Jew. Us, sir. Get that in your minds. You have to get that. No. No COVID restrictions and no laws are above that. None. We are not malshinim. Listen to this part. Listen to what they did. Listen to the first way that they rebelled against the Yevanim. Wow. The Neshot Israel, the Benot Israel. Listen to what they did. So these are the women of the ones that were hiding out in the Midbarot, in the Ma'arot, in all the caves, in the desert. And he said like this. She had a baby. She gave him a bris milah. Oh, so why was I saying about the salad example? Because bris milah, giving a bris milah back then, circumcising your child back then was like, it doesn't even compare right now, but it's the equivalent of telling the police officer, you keep walking. I'm not wearing a mask. You know what happens here if you do that in Israel? You get arrested. You get arrested and you get put in jail. What? How many people have been arrested? Many. How many people have been beat? How many people have been fined? Many. And many of their Jewish brothers and sisters. This woman put out a message on Facebook. She just wrote on her status, I am a free woman. I don't want to be told to wear a mask by anyone. That's what she put on her status. She got over 150 death threats on the comments. You should die from cancer. Your parents should die a slow, miserable death. Your children should die from other Jews. Yeah? Don't risk our life if you don't want to wear a mask. Wow. So the equivalent of her doing a bris milah here during the times of Yavan was the equivalent of us breaking COVID restrictions. Let's just say it that. Even worse. Way worse. They were put to death. So the Ta'al Chomat Yerushalayim, what would she do? She would do a bris milah, and then she would go on the walls of the Chomot of Yerushalayim, Uvana mahul beyadeh, and her circumcised son in her hands. Vatipal bana la'aretz, and she would throw her child, her new baby, onto the ground. Meaning she's standing on the Chomot of Yerushalayim, on the walls of Jerusalem. She was standing on the walls of Jerusalem with her circumcised son, and she held him in her hand, and then she threw him down, meaning she killed him. Vatipal acharav, and she jumped after him. And vayamutu shneim biachad, and they both died together. Lemor leba'alehem, in order to get the message across to their husbands. You have to understand the situation here was dire. There was blood in the streets. It was insane. It was either you become a Misyavin, either you accept the God of the Yevanim and you completely denounce Torah and Judaism, or you're killed. And many hundreds and thousands, revavot, it says here, revavot, harugim. They killed thousands of Jews. The streets of Jerusalem were pouring with blood in the streets. The situation was dire. They left their homes. They were hiding in caves. It wasn't passion. It wasn't simple. These women had nothing left. They took their sons, they circumcised their sons, they go on the walls of them, and they commit suicide with them. Lemor leba'alem, to tell their husbands, ve'lechol achem, and all their brothers, mistatrim mipnei milchama, the ones that are hiding from the milchama, from the war that's going on. Im en atem yotzim li'ilachem be'oivechem. If you are not going to come out of your hiding places to fight against your oivim, to fight against your enemies, lo yiyu lechem banim velo nashim, you're not going to have sons and you're not going to have wives, v'sofechem liot kalim ad echad, and they're not going to be one of you left. Not one of you left. You're all going to die. Lo beseter lishmor et kachenu. We are not going to keep our Torah and our mitzvos beseter, in hiding. Ele befarhesia. We're going to do it with the whole world seeing that we're wearing tzitzis, the whole world seeing that we're putting on yarmulkes, the whole world seeing that we're keeping Shabbos, the whole world seeing that we're being circumcising our children. We're not going to do it in secrecy. We're not going to do it in hiding. Le'nei hakol, in front of everyone. V'im yeshet nafshechem la'atzilenu. And if you want to save us, come out of your hiding places, out of your caves. V'ilachmu ba'oyev, and fight the enemy. V'hashmiduhu, and absolve him. V'Hashem imachem, and Hashem will be with you. This is what the women did. This is what they did. It got to a point where after so many thousands and hundreds of thousands were killed and murdered in cold blood because they didn't want to leave go of Etz Chaim, here of the Torah. It got to a point where the women came out and they said, you're going to continue hiding? You're going to continue worrying about yourselves? You're going to continue worrying about your miserable reality? Come out of your caves and fight this. We are not meant to keep our Torah in secrecy. That's not what we're going to do. And that's what the women did. And these women inspired Matisyahu and his sons to come out and to fight the Yevanim. And somehow, in some miraculous way, when you put your money where your mouth is, when you fight fire with fire, when you fight false with truth, when you fight something that is not emes with truth of what is emes, then God is with you. God is with you. That's what Abraham did. That's what all of our sages and everyone that we come with, that's what they did. That's what they fought against what is not right, what is false. And we have to remember to use both our eyes and all of our senses and the brain that God has put in our minds to make the decision based on what is right and what is wrong, and not by what we're told. What is right according to Torah and what is wrong. It is wrong to hate another person, or to hate them to the point where you're speaking gossip about them and you think that it's okay because they don't hold of something that you hold of. They don't wear the mask, or they do vaccinate, or whatever the hot topic on the table is going to be tomorrow. Because, again, this is not going anywhere. But remember, when something is false, remember what these Neshot Benot Israel did. Stop hiding in your caves, come outside and fight the enemy. Fight the enemy, and the enemy right now, my friends, is within us. The enemy is within us. We have to fight the enemy. We have to fight the separation. We have to fight the pirud. We have to fight all the anger. We have to fight all the stuff that keeps us separated from each other. We have to fight all of that because that is what weakens us. That is what weakens us, and we can't get weak. This is our time to rise. This is our time to shine. This is our time to strengthen ourselves. This is our time. We are about to be Mekabel Mashiach. This is our time to get strong, not to get weak. Not to get weak. And I want to end off with one last thought, and this thought is so strong and so powerful. I love this. It says here that there are three things that are the whole thing of Choshech is to make us forget, right? That's what we were saying before. It's l'tashtish. It's to make your vision not clear. What is the Bet HaMikdash? Bet HaMikdash is the Rosh Olam. It is the light of the world. It says that when the Beit HaMikdash was around, there was light hitting every corner of the world. That light was clarity. A person woke up in the morning who knew who they were, knew their strengths, knew their ability, knew their character. They didn't have the Satan sitting in their brain telling them, no, you can't. Who are you anyway? You're nothing. Look at all your traumas. Look at all the things that you went through. They can do it. You can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not powerful enough. You don't have enough money. You're stupid. You're weak. They didn't have any of that. You understand that that's koshech. You understand that that's yavan. That's not real. We are souls on a mission here in this world, and that's what we came here to do. And all the stuff that's mebarbelas, all the stuff that confuses us, is there on purpose. It's not true. Don't believe everything you think. Don't believe everything you think. So that's why when it comes here and it's talking about this tishtush, what's the tishtush? The tishtush is how long can we be scatter-minded? How long can we think of ourselves in a bad way, in a bad light? When we think ourselves in a bad light, we paralyze ourselves. We paralyze ourselves. We're not growing. We're not doing anything. We don't talk nicely to ourselves. We don't think of ourselves as much. We don't think we could do anything with our lives, really. We could just nothing, right? We can't contribute in any way. We don't want to contribute in any way, and we have nothing to give because of all the reasons that we give ourselves. That is choshech. That is yavan. That's how they get into us. That's how they said. That's the tool of the Etzel. The tool of the Etzel is, as long as I can keep you small, as long as I can keep you thinking that you're not much, and that you ain't that you're not that bag of chips, then we're good. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to do much. What is the Or of the Beit HaMikdash? What is the Or of Chanuka? The Or of Chanukah, it says in Chazal that when we just have to walk into Chanukah. Just by walking into Chanukah, just by breathing the air of Chanukah and looking at those candles and looking at that fire, what it does is that it replenishes your memory. It replenishes your zikaron. It replenishes your ability to differentiate between right and wrong, between what's true and what's not true. It's not true that you're thinking all these thoughts. These thoughts are not real. These thoughts are here to paralyze you. These thoughts are here to hold you back. These thoughts are here to make you not do what you came into this world to do. So when you look at the light of the candles and when you walk into Hanukkah, what it does is that it creates a zikaron. Did I underline it? I think I underlined it. No, I didn't underline it. Here, I did underline it. שההסתכלות בנרות, looking at the nerot, Chanukah מביאה זכירה, זכירה. It leads to memory, to remembering, and the zechira that it's talking about, or is the opposite of choshech. Choshech is letashtesh, choshech is lashkiach, to make the person forget. And when you look at the candles, it's to make you remember. Remember what you came into this world to do. Remember who you are. Remember what's right. Remember what's wrong. Remember what's real. Remember what's fake. Because you know it deep down. You know it inside. Inside you know. Inside we all know. It's layers and layers and layers of lashkicham. It's layers and layers and layers of tishtush. It's layers and layers and layers of yavan. It's layers and layers and layers of choshech. That's what it's layered by. That's when you look at the candles and you look at the fire, what it does is it melts away all of that guk. It melts away all of that tishtush. It melts away all of the yavan. It melts it away. And it makes you remember, and you remember. And you remember, because we all knew the Torah before we were born. We all knew it. We all were connected to truth and to light and to honesty and to what's real and to what's not real. We all knew it. And that's what the light of the candles does, and it tells you like this, and it says here, these three remembrances allows you to not forget. Mezuzah, he says, liskor malchuto. The mezuzah is to remind us, when you have a mezuzah on your door, it's to remind you, liskor malchuto, to remember God. To remember God. When they put the mezuzah, the first time they put the mezuzah, remember when that was? In Mitzrayim? Remember when the Malach HaMavis was going around and being shochet all the Bechoros? He was being shochet all the firstborns, and they put the mezuzah on the door, and the Malach HaMavis skipped over the Jewish doors. And what was it there for? It was there for him to differentiate between which homes were Jewish and which homes weren't Jewish. But it was there for us to remember who was doing all this. לא מלאך ולא שרף, אלא הקדוש ברוך הוא בבלדו, בעצמו ובכבודו. Him and only him is doing this. Everything that we're going through right now in our current event, it's him and only him doing this to us. It's only him. He's doing this. And it says that at the end of the days, Hashem is going to use the Rishayim's plans against them. Meaning, all of this craziness and everything that we're in and all of the, what's going on? Is this real? Is this not real? Is this right? Is this not right? Is there a virus? Not a virus? Are we going to... How do we do this? All of that, all of the stuff that doesn't make any sense, all of the stuff that we're battling with right now, that a lot of us are really, really in the dark about, Hashem is going to take all of that and use it against our enemies. Use it against our enemies. And then the stuff that the enemies are planning, he's going to use against them. He's going to use against them, and then we're going to see how the whole thing fits together, and how the whole picture and the whole puzzle came together so brilliantly, so beautifully. Oh, that's why we weren't allowed to sit down in restaurants. Oh, that's why they were arresting people for not wearing masks. Oh, everything is going to fit in together. We're going to see a very, very clear picture. But till then, remember, we have to tolerate each other's differences. And we have to respect each other. and not hate each other for thinking differently about the pandemic that we're all going through and that we're all living through right now. So he says the mezuzah is there to remind us that it's all him. What else reminds us that everything is him? Tzitzit. Lema'an tiskiru. Right? That's why a person wears tzitzit, to remember the mitzvos. Ner Chanuka is the third thing. Hischira. Gamken. Shichicha v'chashecha. Right? The Ner of Hanukkah, just like we said, the Choshech is to forget, and the Or is to remember. The Ner of Hanukkah allows us to remember. Shavim be'otiotem v'shavim be'inyanam. Okay? So he says like this, he says, Sha'istaklut b'nerot, okay, we just said that. He says that when a person lights the menorah, so they're lighting the menorah, what's the mitzvah? It's, here is the menorah, here's the mezuzah, here is the menorah, and here's the person standing in the middle, lighting it. Right? The person that's standing in the middle lighting it, that's wearing the tzitzis, okay? So you have liskol on your right side by the mezuzah, you have the liskol on the left side by the menorah, that allows you to remember and to see clearly and to know and to be able to differentiate between tov and ra, right and wrong, and the person that's wearing the tzitzis is remembering the mitzvos. All three of this experience of lighting the menorah is all about connecting to truth and connecting to what's really going on and what's really emes. And all of Hanukkah, all of these 8 nights of Hanukkah, remember that this and Purim are going to be the only 2 holidays that we're going to take into the Messianic era with us, because they're Mashiach miracles, they're Mashiach holidays, they're Mashiach holidays. They're above Teva. They're above Teva. These holidays are above Teva. They're both Hisarusa Dilatata. They're both ones that we initiated, that the Jewish people initiated. And they're the ones that are going to come into Geula with us, because that's God's love language. God's love language is Hisarusa Dilatata. You take the first step towards me, and I'll make you happy. I'll open up worlds for you. That's God's love language, and that's going to be the love language, that's going to be the language, that's going to be the currency, that's going to be the reality when Mashiach comes, in the era of Mashiach, in the times of Mashiach, that's going to be the reality of we initiate, we take steps forward, and that's what the Benot Israel here did. They initiated, and because they committed suicide with their babies, and because they did this crazy act of Mesiras Nefesh, that is what inspired Matisyahu and his children to stand up and to create, in essence, the Nes of Hanukkah. So don't underestimate yourselves. Don't underestimate your power. Don't underestimate your ability to take steps during times when it's not so simple, to speak, to do things that are important to do for each other, love each other's differences, because that's what's going to get us through all of this. And remember that Hanukkah is the night, the miracle of lights. It is all about remembering. That is what is the love language of Hashem. And that is why we're going to take Hanukkah and Purim into Geula with us. Because that is the name of the game. That really is the name of the game. To see where you can't see. And the only way to see when there's darkness is only by having emunah. Emunah gives you a vision that nothing else can give you. Emunah is, I clearly and utterly believe and know that you are guiding, you are doing, you are in charge of all of this. It's not Bibi, and it's not Trump, and it's not the Democrats, and it's not the Republicans, and it's not the elections, and it's not, Wall Street. None of that. That's all a facade. It's all a facade. Let's stop being busy with all of that. And let's remember, it's our relationship with each other and God. That's it. And whatever happens, happens. B'ezrat Hashem, it's going to be good. We're bringing you Mashiach. Anyone have any questions? Well, thank you for watching. And happy Hanukkah. And maybe we'll have a class next week. I'm not sure. Next Thursday night is our first candle, right? Next Thursday night, so we might have a class next week. So stay tuned. Till then.